Coffee's the lifeblood. Get me the good stuff. Wow. Hey everyone, vlog update. It is October 21st, 2023. We're in the new space here. More on that later. I'll have to give you a house tour, crib style maybe. But yeah, is that what that show's called? Anyway, I wanted to update you with what's been going on in my life, but also most importantly, running and a new process, probably a vlog series we're going to start here as I'm training for my next event, my next race. So we'll go upstairs to the new office and I'll talk about it, but I want to show off some of the new stuff we got. Look at this sweet map I got in Chamonix when I was there for TDS UTMB week. It's a 3D map. I love these things. You could actually see the whole UTMB route, and of course with all the mountains, landscapes, some of the landmarks and towns. It's really cool. You can see part of the TDS route where we came in on. Yes, we've got 2 stores now, with some views even. All right, this is the new office space, and I'm really proud of this decoration, I will say, because, well, it's one of the things that survived the fire, because this bib from my first U.S. Olympic trials, New York City 2007, was actually at my parents' house. This bib and my Team U.S. jersey was in storage, so, I got that, kept that. There are some stuff. This shirt is from my second U.S. Olympic Trials Marathon, which was Houston 2012. So I got that. Also, one of the few finisher medals I got from, let's see that. Oh, that's from Houston too, 2012. So I did a couple things, little decorations there. Also, this is from this year, a cool Minotaur Sky Race cup holder coaster thing. And of course, slowly restoring my bib collection. That's from last year, Verbier Marathon, but yeah, I did Minotaur Sky Race earlier this summer. Then of course TDS, which was in Chamonix. All right, so let's start this vlog. Next race, big event, announcement. And again, yeah, in the new office space. Really appreciate all the Patreon support, the sponsor support, making these dreams come true. And yeah, more on that later, but we'll dive right into the actual running talk. Again, hope this vlog finds you well. Thanks for following along, subscribing to this channel, liking these types of videos. But as you know, my motto over the years has been any surface, any distance. It's actually part of our higher running coaching business, higherrunning.com. Hashtag. One of them is athlete empowerment, the other one's higher running, the other one's any surface, any distance, because I've tried to do it all over the years. Growing up as a kid, running cross country, 5K, running track through school at Cornell University, mainly 5K, 10K on the track, but I've run some 1,500 meters and miles in my day as well. And then working up from there with cross country, transitioning into trail running, but then also a lot of half marathons and marathons on the road during my Hanson's Brooks focus right after college, getting into a couple Olympic trials and running at the pro national class level, I'll say, on the roads. And then getting into ultra running in 2012 when I moved to Colorado. Anyway, getting into ultras, you get up to 50Ks, 50 miles, 80K, but also technical mountain running like sky running races, shorter races, half marathon events, made a couple US mountain running teams in the short distance, long distance arena, and then working up to attempting some 100-mile races. Again, I haven't gone beyond 106 miles. I have of course finished UTMB in Western States and had a couple struggled attempts at 100 miles, but it's not a distance I've done a ton of, but it kind of covers the whole spectrum of any service, any distance, especially if you're doing mountain trail running. The mountain races are a lot different from running like a flat, faster ultra, for example. But I want to get back to my roots. I want to get back to something shorter. And the decision was tough after TDS because I had a pretty solid race there. You can check out my vlog. 12th place at TDS, a little over 22 hours in the really snowy conditions. And again, the course was 98 miles this year. It was quite a bit longer, so I'm counting that as 100 miles. But anyway, I digress. Like 28,000 feet of climbing. But my legs were a little beat up after that. Mentally, I kind of had to check out after TDS. After all my hundreds, it's been very mentally taxing. So I give myself that break. I take some time off from running, let the endocrine system reset, maybe, drink a little extra beer, have some extra desserts, gain a couple extra pounds of fat going into the fall here. And, that's okay. I'm relaxing. I'm enjoying it. But now I'm ready to ramp things up again. And I don't have a ton of time before the end of the year in December, obviously, but I think I have enough time and I could springboard that into another event in February, possibly. Stay tuned for that. But yeah, I want to build back up, getting back to getting the turnover fast again. It kind of naturally goes with the season because we start getting snow in the high country here in Colorado. The high mountains, they're actually not covered in snow too much yet, but you know, any given day now it could start snowing quite a bit, and it gets quite cold up high on the big mountain trails that I was hitting up all summer. So there's kind of this natural transition with the seasons going into autumn and then into winter where you know, I stay down lower in town, I run more flat, more runnable, road, spike pass, even the track. Not racing on the track. That's definitely not happening. The days of running a all-out 5K on the track, you know, not going to PR there. And, you know, I'm going to say that I'm not going to PR doing a road marathon, which is exactly what I am going to plan on doing. And so the announcement here is, without further ado, I am going to race. I'm entered in, thanks to the support of the race, and because I like to go to someplace warm in the winter, is the Honolulu Marathon on December 10th this year. Hope to see you out there. Comment below if you're going to be at the Honolulu Marathon or you're training for a road marathon in December maybe. And there's a couple reasons why I picked Honolulu specifically. It's a pretty big major event. You know, some years in the US, historically, it's been as big as the fourth largest marathon in the US, I guess. But, you know, any given year, it could be 10, 15, 20,000 runners. I know things have changed over the years, but, you know, great area along Waikiki Beach. I've been out there a lot for the Xterra Half Marathon Champs, which they're not having, or they already had this year. It's not in Hawaii anymore. But usually, Sandy and I do go to Hawaii in December, maybe on vacation. Of course, I did that Maui FKT, but this is on Oahu, so hope to see a lot of people there. It's a good international field, pretty competitive field too. But, you know, some people are saying, why'd you pick Honolulu? You're going for an OTQ again, Olympic Trials qualifier. That's not the reason. If I was going for a fast time, like a Olympic Trials qualifier, which you have to run sub 218 now, it's no walk in the park, or even a PR, or even a sub 220, I probably would have picked a lot faster of a course in weather conditions that aren't going to be hot and humid. Hawaii is probably going to be a little on the hot and humid side, and it's definitely not a flat course, perfectly flat at least. So, you know, the idea of running a fast time is not the goal. I wanted some heat training. I wanted to get out there and put forth a good effort, getting the leg turnover up, doing a road marathon, and seeing what I could do after my pulmonary embolism. And of course, by the time December rolls around, I'm also going to be 38 years old. So, you know, not a spring chicken anymore. And usually with people we coach could improve a lot in their late 30s and 40s, and they're getting PRs, even their 50s. You know, you could progress a lot in the marathon, take a lot of time off. But for someone like me, I started running, you know, 100 miles a week, up to 150 miles a week in college. When I was in my early 20s, I was running marathons a lot in my 20s. I've done over 15 road marathons. And, you know, half a dozen of those have been sub 220 already. And of course, when I focused at Hanson's Brooks, I was 100% dedicated to running the half marathon and full marathon PR shape. And that's what I got. I wasn't messing around on the mountain trails too much. And, you know, that's when I ran 104 in the half and 216. But so I have no... I'm not envisioning getting a PR or even a sub 220 in the marathon ever again, probably. And it's, you know, it's a tough reality as you get older. It's a tough reality when you run some of your faster times when you're in your 20s only. But, you know, I burned it hot and I got into mountain ultra running, and I've kind of been more focused on trying to do better at like the 100-mile distance in the mountains and on the trails, and, you know, doing other technical sky running, downhill mountain running stuff, you know, doing the Golden Trail series over the last couple years, 2018, 2019. So that focus has always been a tough dynamic where, you know, I did try to qualify for the Olympic trials again. It would have been my third Olympic trials if I qualified in 2016. This was kind of pre-super shoe era. So, you know, I ran a couple failed attempts. I'll say they weren't failures though, because I had one of my proudest races of getting 16th at Boston in 2015, running 2:19:12 at Boston, ultimately missing the Olympic trials that cycle by 12 seconds. And of course I did that in the Hoka Cliftons. This was pre-super shoe era on a tough weather day at Boston. So I consider that, top 20 at Boston, top 20 at Chicago. Those are some of my best marathon performances, even though they aren't the fastest times if you take into consideration the weather conditions, but going by place. And then also in 2015, another thing I was proud of was getting 8th place at the US Marathon Championships in LA on a really hot day, running 2:20:02. Just missed cracking 2:20 for the 7th time, but those were good races for me, even though I missed the Olympic trials. And I think going through the process of the OTQ series, showing you some marathon training workouts, hopefully you guys got some value from that, because I know a lot of you do any service, any distance too, and a lot of you might be working up from a half marathon or marathon, and you're moving down from ultras to a road marathon or something like that. So I do want to do this new series, maybe showcase some of these workouts as I prepare for the Honolulu Marathon on December 10th. But adding into that framework, I did try again for the trials in 2020. You only needed a sub 2:19 still, and I guess I never got the Carbon Rocket X2s from Hoka yet before that, but I ultimately missed qualifying for that Olympic trials cycle by 52 seconds because I ran 2:19:52 at Houston. Then I did have a couple slower ones at Copenhagen, Rotterdam, so I was farther off the mark, but ran a 2:19:52 at Houston off of trying to train for these longer ultra races. It was quite hard. Even in 2015, that was the first year I tried doing UTMB actually. Fell and got an injury during the race, but I digress there. If I hadn't had my pulmonary embolism and lost some of my lung tissue, I probably would still be going for an OTQ, to tell you the truth, because I believe with super shoes at this day and age, even though I'm going to be turning 38 pretty soon, I still think I probably could have run a pretty fast marathon, but the lungs seem to be a real limiting factor now, especially at that kind of intensity. It's like, 5:15 per mile pace, 3:15 per kilometer pace. It's the pace you have to run 2:18. So, it's a little bit harder. And yeah, if I didn't have the pulmonary embolism, definitely I would have signed up for a fast course like CIM or something, probably the fastest course in the country. Or, I guess Houston might be too late this year, but the Marathon Project, one of those ones that just happened. So like a fast flat course in good weather conditions, not too hot, is really the ideal thing. But for me, it's more about connecting with the community now, seeing what I could do. I'm not saying Honolulu is going to be super hot and humid. It's probably going to be a little hot and humid. I think the race starts at like 5 a.m., but it's never like cool in Hawaii usually, even in the winter. And knowing the course, it meanders along the coastline there. It's definitely not a flat course and a super fast course like CIM. So I'm not, comparing any times there exactly, but I do hope to be fairly competitive and to run as hard as I can, get some good heart rate and stride data, and see what I could do transitioning off of a mountain ultra like TDS, which I do realize, past mistakes I've made not optimizing my marathon potential has been because I've been focused on mountain running, and not just mountain running. Mountain running, short distance mountain running is, I think, very easier to transition from, but the long ultras like TDS or UTMB or 100 miles in the mountains is especially hard to transition off of. But, other people I've seen and coached, they'll run a PR after they do ultramarathon training because they've built up a great aerobic base, and then they can transition that into a fast 5K PR or a road marathon PR. There's always, a little injury overtraining risk with that, but for most people that applies. For me, I would say that doesn't apply as much because I burned it so hot, so young, and focused on the marathon so hard in my early to mid 20s that I'm probably not going to touch those PRs again. And, that's okay for me. I was really proud of that 104 half marathon, especially because, my VO2 max is not super high relative to a lot of the guys I competed with in the past. And I'm not the lightest guy in the world either. More on that later, but trying to get back down under 150 pounds, we'll put it that way. So I digress there. Got a training plan. The first thing I do when I get ready for these events is I map out a calendar plan, and we do this with our higher running training plans. Check them out. It's like a calendar grid you could print out, put on your refrigerator, and lay it out with the calendar dates. So we say, okay, we're transitioning into October, into November. I know what I'm going to do, and I could stack the workouts. I haven't filled it all out there, but I've been hitting up the track a couple times on Sundays. I did one long run, I got another long run coming up, doing more flat bike path running, which is hard to do actually out here in Slide at altitude. Check out my altitude talking about the paces, but it's a transition from mountain running for sure. And it's a transition from running 100-mile race pace or long ultramarathon race pace to doing something much faster and flatter in a relatively short distance. But training for a marathon is very specific and it's very hard. And especially with my pulmonary embolism and the breathing, you start spiking that higher in intensity at altitude and things go south real fast. But it's also getting the musculature in the legs used to that turnover and that stride power on flatter, runnable surfaces now. But you know what I say, any service, any distance. So the other thing I'm doing, and this is a plug for a sponsor, athletebloodtest.com. I believe this is only valid for US only, US domestic. Sorry, I know a lot of you are international, so you could ignore this. But athletebloodtest.com, the sponsor, Sandy and I, have supported us for years. We get a blood profile because for me, you have to be healthy going into hard training. And if I'm low on anything, be that iron or vitamin B12 or just what are my red blood cell count numbers? What's my testosterone level? They measure hormones and all sorts of vitamins and minerals, things like that, magnesium, vitamin D. These are real key. And I don't eat a perfect clean diet. I'll admit to that. I eat a lot of junk food. So I'm you're straining your body to a maximum, training really hard, sweating out a lot of stuff, getting dehydrated sometimes, getting a lot of muscle damage. I want to make sure those levels are all optimized. So, enter code SAGE15. You get a 15% discount on a blood panel. I usually get the gold panel at athletebloodtest.com there. And they use real medical professionals, real doctors to not just give you the numbers and the results, but to explain exactly what they mean and how reference ranges vary because you're not like a normal person. If you're an athlete, you kind of have different reference range numbers for certain things compared to someone who doesn't exercise at all, right? If I was just sitting around and not running, I probably wouldn't feel these little details in my body, low energy levels or missing a threshold on my workout a little bit, pushing my body in a 20-mile, 32K long run, pounding the pavement. I wouldn't notice those things if I wasn't an athlete, and therefore the numbers and the values are a little different depending on what we're talking about for an athlete versus a normal person, so to speak. So they take all that into account, which is really smart, and you're getting real doctors commenting on suggestions with making some modifications to your diet, but also your training plan even. So it's a really useful tool there, and the only way to know is to objectively get that data from a blood test. So that's what I use, athletebloodtest.com. You can check them out, give them a follow. They've got great tips and suggestions across social media. So again, enter code SAGE15 for a discount there. This is a sponsored ad plug for them, but really appreciate their support. All right, so finally going in, cat's out of the bag now. I am training for the Honolulu Marathon. I plan on that being my next big race. Again, comment below if you're gonna be there in Honolulu. I might organize some sort of thing. I'm definitely gonna be bringing the cameras and getting some footage. There's a elite mile race the day before out there in Waikiki. So beautiful area, hope the weather's good. I'm gonna do some more heat training out here as it gets colder. Might have to get on the treadmill in the garage now. Yes, we have a garage. More space, give you a house tour, give you some more updates as we get it going along into this training cycle. Again, I don't have a ton of time because it's only 7 weeks away, but I have been training and this has been a focus, so I will say that. Any service, any distance, let me know how you're doing in the comments below as well and what you think about any service, any distance, or what you'd like to see in this series. Probably going to try to do some workout videos, like I said. Anything specific you'd like to see. Think of it more like the OTQ marathon training series and tips. But yeah, I'd still love to mix it up. Probably, do some skiing still when it starts snowing here. But I am also doing some extra strength training and stuff like that if you want to see some of that also. So thank you so much for all your support on here. Again, I've been bringing out the Hoka flats and even some track flats and cross-country spikes and stuff like that, really mixing it up because Hoka, of course, has shoes for any service, any distance. So thanks to the title sponsor there. Thanks to Koros, Camelback, STRAVA, Athlete Blood Test, of course, just to name a few sponsors. Spring Energy, check them out. And thanks to the Patreon supporters for really keeping this YouTube channel going and alive. Been honored to be doing running related content videos for the last 14 years or so on here on the YouTube. Thanks for subscribing, liking these videos, sharing them. And again, love to hear from you in the comments below. Sorry if I can't get to all of them. And again, on Instagram and other platforms, I don't always see personal messages if you send them to me. So definitely sorry if I don't see them. They go to my spam folder on Instagram and Facebook, so I don't see those. But again, appreciate all the comments on here on YouTube. I do read most of those, so thank you. Hope you're doing well, and stay tuned for more VO2 Max Productions.